Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today it is time for the final Oscar predictions for September. I will be starting October predictions next week, and today we're going to be covering the below-the-line categories, the text, animated feature, all sorts of cool stuff. And we're going to start with cinematography. A lot has changed since my last below-the-line predictions. We have a new frontrunner, I believe, and I believe it is The Brutalist. The Brutalist, from everything I've heard, it's like, 70 millimeter IMAX film for a film like this. It's gonna win. It's gonna win. Then we have Dune Part 2. I think that's also a very solid lock to put in there. I think Maria, Maria I still have in here because it's done by cinematographer Edward Lockman. He got in for a bunch of movies, including El Conde last year, which luckily I did get right, even though most people didn't predict it. So we have that. And then the last two, and I'm going off on a limb and saying a complete unknown will get cinematography, and here's why. A complete unknown, the cinematography for that film was done by the same cinematographer who did Ford v Ferrari, and most importantly, The Trial of the Chicago 7. Because you look at the trailer for A Complete Unknown and you're thinking, why would you nominate that for cinematography? But you could also say the same thing about The Trial of the Chicago 7. I even looked, no one nominated The Trial of the Chicago 7 for cinematography until ASC, the American Society of Cinematographers. No one nominated that for cinematography until ASC. And which the best way I can describe that is, at that point, he did not, that guy did not get in because of any kind of, front runner stuff or precursors are doing it, so we might as well do it. No, they went out on a limb. They literally went out and just nominated the trial for cinematography because at that, they just wanted to. And I feel like this shows that this cinematographer is pretty strong within cinematographers. And then what happened after ASC? Well, Trial got nominated for the Oscar for cinematography. And this film, I feel like, is doing a little bit more than that. Obviously, there's stages and stuff, more silhouettes. And I think because of that, A Complete Unknown will get cinematography. I mean, it doesn't look like something that I would nominate for cinematography, but if they nominated Trial, and keep in mind, it's not just because it was a weak field, because they could have nominated Tenet for cinematography. They could have nominated, what was it? I'm Thinking of Ending Things. They could have nominated Da 5 Bloods. I still stand by that probably should have been nominated. They had a bunch of options, but they went for Trial. They just went for Trial of the Chicago 7. So if they will go out and nominate Trial, I think they'll go out for A Complete Unknown. And this is where I'm sort of throwing something out there and seeing if it works. The Girl with the Needle. Because you look at the images of this film, it is in black and white. The blocking of everything looks amazing. And so I feel like this would stand a pretty decent chance to get cinematography. And sure, not a lot of people are talking about it, but also not a lot of people were talking about El Conde for cinematography either. And also other films like, Never Look Away. So I feel like that is going to be again, it might not get nominated, but I'm just going out on a limb and saying maybe it will. But there are some other options as well. You have Nickel Boys, where the entire film is from one perspective throughout the entire thing. Again, I don't know how strong this is going to be during Oscar season. And also when it comes to the cinematography, I'm wondering if because general people are saying, yeah, it should get nominated for cinematography. But will the branch go for it? That's what I'm wondering. Will the branch actually go for it? Or is it more of the narrative where the cinematography is strong, but not the technique? We'll have to see. Grand Tour is another film, sort of like The Girl with the Needle, except maybe even more so, where not a lot of people are talking about it. But again, I saw the trailer, and the imagery looks amazing. It looks stunning. So, again, I'm going to keep it in this list because that's why I made my mistake with El Conde. El Conde, like once it came out and nobody was really talking about it, everyone just kind of like, I kind of just dropped it from predictions. Like, all right, well, I guess it's not happening. And then ASC happened, slapped me in the face, and it's like, I shouldn't have taken it out. So I'm going to keep some of these smaller films in the list to watch out for. Because Grand Tour, again, I haven't seen the movie, but I have seen the trailer. If the imagery in the movie overall is as strong as the trailer, then watch out for it. Watch out. Joker Folie à Deux, by all measures, should get a cinematography nomination. I mean, good God, you look at the trailers, it looks amazing. But one thing that is also noticeable is that when movies fall, like when movies are looking to be like big Best Picture contenders, but then they come out and everyone hates them and it starts to flop, that's when the guilds start backing away from it. Because like it's better to be a film that no one's really paying attention to, and then suddenly out of nowhere the guilds pop up, that's better than being a Best Picture disappointment. And right now Joker, despite the cinematography looking amazing, the fact that it's looking to be a Best Picture disappointment is probably going to turn off a lot of voters. And I cannot believe how many categories I've dropped this out of. It's kind of nuts. Conclave, I've seen the trailers for Conclave and I know a lot of people are predicting it, and I'm pretty sure it might get Critics' Choice and BAFTA. But I don't know. I just don't see I just don't see the appeal from the trailers. Like it looks very, very standard in terms of cinematography. So I'm not so sure. Furiosa, it's not impossible. The cinematography I think is very good, but I don't think it's going to perform anywhere near as well as Fury Road did. I don't think it's going to do as badly as a lot of people think it's going to perform. But I don't think one of those is going to be cinematography. I do feel like it's going to get 3 tech nominations. 3. Because I feel like a movie that is, a sequel to a film nominated for Best Picture that won 6 Oscars. Like, yeah, Furiosa flopped, but come on. It's not like people despise this movie. Like, people still really liked it. As much as Fury Road? No. But the pure fact that people still really like it, and it is a sequel to a film that won 6 Oscars and was nominated for Best Picture, there's going to be eyes on it. That's something I really want to keep in mind for people. Eyes will be on Furiosa. It's not going to get a lot of nominations, but it can at least get a few. I don't think one of those is cinematography, but still, we'll get to those categories when we get to them. But the shots in Furiosa look very nice, but I don't know if that's happening. God, Nosferatu looks like it has amazing cinematography, and I will say, it's from the same cinematographer of The Lighthouse, who got nominated for an Oscar. So at this point with Nosferatu, it's literally being shot by a previous Oscar nominee. So that does help it, but it's not in black and white. But again, it does look very beautiful in its cinematography. So I'm not gonna say it's like impossible. Like this is where it could happen. I just need to see what happens, Emilia Perez, some of the cinematography looks pretty good. Some of it looks pretty standard. We'll have to see about that. Megalopolis, again, I don't think it's gonna happen. But, there are some good shots in the trailers. Again, I need to see the movie, but, it's not, I don't know. Well, again, I don't know about that. And honestly, Blitz, I saw the trailer. Nothing about the cinematography in Blitz looks like anything remarkable to me in the slightest. It looks very, very standard in its presentation. So I honestly don't see it. I'd be kind of surprised if it started to take off. Film editing. All right. Oh, and I should also mention, this is the first Oscar predictions video where The Life of Chuck just dropped out. So I've dropped it from a few categories, and, I'm going to be explaining some of these things here in a bit. I'll still put Dune in editing, because, again, you want to have the sound combination. And yes, the past 2 years, that sound and editing stat didn't hold up. But I feel like you could explain that for a couple of reasons. One, with Everything Ever All at Once versus Top Gun Maverick. At Top Gun Maverick in editing was going up against the flashiest, like, editing of the year with Everything Ever All at Once. Like, at the end of the day, it was kind of like, yeah, no shit, Everything Everywhere was going to win for that. And also, Everything Ever All at Once, because of the film that it is, it's not really a sound contender. Like, so I feel like that's an extenuating circumstance. And with The Zone of Interest versus Oppenheimer, there was a specific narrative behind the sound in The Zone of Interest that made it win the Oscar. So, I feel like that is a thing that is worth noting. But still, the editing in Dune Part 2 is still very, very good. I don't know what else could be that big editing or sound contender that could take down Dune, unless we want to say Emilia Perez, because Emilia Perez, that could maybe win editing and sound, but we'll get to sound here in a bit, so I will explain myself in sound. But, right now, I'm good at Emilia Perez being a number 2. Again, I need to see this movie, but it is a musical, and apparently there's also action scenes as well, or some sort of shootout scenes, so that's good for editing. The Brutalist, if it's like the fact that it's like 3.5 hours long and people say it has like very good pacing, then I think that's just gonna get in. Conclave, it's like a some sort of political thriller, so it's probably gonna have some sharp editing as well. And especially if I want to keep Conclave in Best Picture, which granted, I don't think it's going to be as strong in Best Picture as some people think. I do want to have some stuff below the line, because currently I literally, like, above the line, I only have picture, actor, and adapted screenplay. So, like, it's got to have some below the line nominations, I think. But then again, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. And juror number 2, you're probably wondering, why do I have juror number 2 here? Well, ever since Life of Chuck went away, I've thought, you know what? I think maybe juror number 2 might be our Best Picture surprise coming later. Again, we'll have to see how everything goes. But, however, if the film is generally agreeable and people go, oh yeah, I really like that film, and the fact that it's a courtroom drama, I think maybe that could help it, be a decently sized Best Picture contender. And editing for a courtroom drama like this, yeah, I feel like that would make sense. But then there's some others. I actually have Seed of the Sacred Fig in here, because I still have that in Best Picture. And considering from what I've heard where the film goes later on, like, it becomes like this like thriller of sorts. That could mean some very sharp, some very like fast-paced editing. So we'll have to, yeah. Sing Sing, it's decently paced. I also another thing, I've seen Sing Sing. Wonderful film. I absolutely love it. Although I don't know if it's going to be an editing contender. I mean, although granted, something like The Holdovers also get editing, but there's a lot of films in here that make a great argument for editing, so I don't know. Honora, I don't know. I honestly don't think Honora gets a lot of, like, below the line love. Hell, it might just get, like, some above the line love. So we'll have to see. A Complete Unknown, it is a, musical biopic. So, but then again, like, it's not as showy as something like Elvis. So, granted, I do have the Best Picture nominees up higher, because I did realize you do want to be a Best Picture nominated film in editing. Now, granted, there are some exceptions to that, like Tick, Tick, Boom, but generally speaking, I want to, like, for stuff like editing, I want to prioritize the Best Picture nominees in predicting. The Room Next Door, again, we'll have to see. Blitz, I don't know, it has some war elements, but again, I just feel like it just screams no nominations to me. Gladiator 2, there's some big fight scenes, but again, Best Picture is like, we'll have to see about that. Saturday Night, if it were in Best Picture, I would absolutely predict it for editing, but again, like, this movie just, no one's really seen me to care about it all that much. The Apprentice, again, that's the thing I want to keep, my eye out on. If it does start to gain traction, then yeah, editing could definitely happen here. Nickel Boys, maybe we'll have to see. Again, if it's stronger in Best Picture, probably. Furiosa, like, okay, yeah, it is a big action film, and the editing is very good, but I don't know if that's happening. Again, that's just one of those tech categories that I don't think it's going to get into. Joker Folie à Deux, again, the reception of this film is not that great, even though on paper it just sounds like something that would get into editing. The Substance, Night Bitch, Challengers, again, I'm just kind of putting them in there, but overall, I'm looking more towards the Best Picture nominees for film editing, because that like being in Best Picture seems to correlate in film editing more than a lot of other techs. Production design. All right. So this is one where I am going out on a limb on. I'm breaking away from everyone who are still predicting Dune Part 2. I'm thinking it's The Brutalist. I think The Brutalist wins production design for a few reasons. One, it is about an architect. And so you're going to see a lot of like brutalist architecture stuff. So I feel like that's going to be in its favor. And apparently it is like a very large scale film. So you're probably going to see like a lot of architecture. But also another stat that people don't usually realize, and one that I actually kind of recently found out, in relation to Dune Part 2 winning, that would be extremely difficult because only 2 sequels have ever won production design. Only 2. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Mad Max Fury Road. And even with Mad Max Fury Road, you could also make an argument that it's not really a sequel, it's a reboot. So, like even George Miller doesn't really know seems to not really know what Fury Road is. So if really just if we want to say that, then like the only direct sequel that won production design was no, wait, did I say Two Towers? I meant Return of the King. Return of the King is the only direct sequel to ever win production design. So, on that level, I don't know if I'm very confident in Dune. Because, like, yeah, Dune looks like it definitely deserves it, but, again, you look at the stats, and it's like, they don't really like sequels winning that much. Whereas, because, like, they're probably going to say, oh, we've already seen this before, even though there's clearly a lot more going on. Like, there's a lot more production design that's fascinating. But still, like, you have The Brutalist, it's still in Best Picture. It is very, like, again, it's about an architect, and there's a lot of, like, crazy big sets going on. So, I feel like that's going to end up winning the Oscar. That's my big, bold move. Gladiator 2, again, I'm kind of thinking Gladiator 2 gets the Napoleon 3 plus Denzel Washington in supporting actor. And the Napoleon 3 were costume design, production design, visual effects. Although more could be on the table. But yeah, I don't see any reason right now to doubt Gladiator 2. Wicked, I'm putting Wicked in because, well, for one, it's like 2.5 hour, no, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes of musical set in the land of Oz. There's going to be some big sets in that film. Also, the production design was done by Nathan Crowley, who's known for a lot of Christopher Nolan movies and has been nominated many times for the production design Oscar. And so I have a good feeling that he's going to win. No, not win, but get nominated. Again, like, yeah, some people are going to go, oh, but it's CG. A lot of it is CG. That doesn't matter in production design because it doesn't matter if the sets end up being practical or CGI. It still has to be designed by a production designer. Like, the way something looks, like, the design of it all, that's not the visual effects artist's job. That's the production designer's job. And the visual effects artists are there to bring whatever the production designer has to life. And also, there have been many, many examples of very, very CG production design films that have gotten nominated for the Oscar for production design, like, Avatar, which won, Alice in Wonderland, which won. There's a lot of CGI actually in Hugo, and I think maybe that won. You have, Life of Pi, that got nominated. What was it? Gravity got nominated. Interstellar got nominated. Avatar: The Way of Water got nominated. Hell, even Dune, even the first Dune had a lot of CG sets. in that film, and like there was a lot of practical sets as well, but there was a lot of CG sets. Basically, if the sets are CG, that doesn't really matter in production design, because a production designer still has to design that before it actually gets made by the visual effects artists. So that's not a concern. And then this is my big leap. My big leap is Megalopolis. From the trailers, the sets look unbelievably good. Like the sets look stunning. And even if everything else were to drop, I mean, there's a lot going on in the production design in Megalopolis, at least from what the trailers have suggested. Like, yeah, is it going to be dead in some other categories, like editing and stuff? Like, sure. Yeah, absolutely. But the set design in Megalopolis looks so fascinating that I feel like it might get nominated. Like, what I really want to see is, like, I want to see if the Art Directors Guild goes for it. Critics' Choice is probably not going to go for it. BAFTA is probably not going to go for it. But the Art Directors Guild, if the Art Directors Guild nominates this, like, I think it would have to be in, like, sci-fi fantasy film. If they nominate this, then I will say that that it's definitely in for the Oscar. Maybe not definitely. We'll have to see. But that would all I would need to be convinced. And I feel like it definitely could. And especially considering, like, the rest of the competition doesn't really look all that strong. You do have Blitz, but again, nothing about it really stands out to me. Joker Folie à Deux, again, you look at the trailers and it's like, sure, that could happen, but it's also a big box office failure thing. Now, granted, people are also saying that about Megalopolis, but I don't know. Like, something about Joker felt like it was more likely to get, like, Best Picture nominated than Megalopolis at the beginning of the year. So we'll have to see. Beetlejuice, the sets look amazing, but the first film didn't get nominated, so I'm not really thinking this gets in. Conclave, it looks a bit too contemporary for me, to be honest. Like I know a lot of people are going on a limb for it, but it's like, again, like, even though it has a lot of, you know, like, big cathedral stuff or big Vatican sets, it's like, it's still contemporary. So, like, I'm not going to bet on that. Furiosa, again, the vehicles and everything, they all look amazing. Like, so, yeah. Nosferatu, I'm not expecting it to happen, but the production design does look amazing. And honestly, that's kind of all I have to say for production design. Like, it's not a big list, but, like, it's not really looking like a big year for tech giants, to be honest. Costume design. All right, this is where we get to some other films. Wicked, I actually think might win this. There's a lot of costumes in Wicked, a lot of variety. I think this could be a film that, like, only wins costume design, and that's it. But still, I think that could be very strong. Dune Part 2, yeah, like, that's an easy nomination you have. The first film got nominated, so I feel pretty good about that. Gladiator 2, same reasons. Joker Folie à Deux, I had this at number 1 the last time I did a below the line, you know, a below the line predictions video, because the costumes looked absolutely amazing, but again, it's looking to be a disappointment, whereas Wicked, everyone was kind of clowning on it and at first, but it might not be as bad as people say, but we'll have to see about that. And The Brutalist, it might get in, sort of like how, like, Oppenheimer got nominated or something like that, where it's like a big historical epic, and because it's such a big film as is, it could just get probably nominated in other categories. Maria could definitely happen. Blitz, maybe, but again, I kind of have it just out of a lot of other categories. Emilia Perez, again, it's too contemporary, so I'm not going to bet on that. Beetlejuice, first, like, again, costumes look amazing, but the first film didn't get in, so, Megalopolis, no, I don't see that happening. Although, again, we'll have to see how everything goes. Furiosa, again, on paper it should, but again, I don't think this is one of those categories that Furiosa gets into. Nosferatu and Nosferatu, again, like, looks like it has very good costumes, but I'm not seeing it. And Conclave, again, too contemporary for me. Like, I know a lot of people are trying to predict Conclave, but it's like, it's just Vatican robes. You know, look at the two popes. The two popes also did this, and that didn't get a nomination. So again, I think Conclave is just too contemporary for production design and costume design. Makeup and hairstyling. Okay, this is one where I am really going out on a limb here. And I am saying Emilia Perez wins. Because from what I've been told, there is a transformation in the film that is so convincing with prosthetics that apparently is not only is also in the film for like over 20 minutes, and people were so like impressed by the makeup that they thought it was that they actually thought it wasn't even makeup, it was just a different person altogether. That made me go, ooh. Keeping my eye, and also like it also makes sense because you have an acting contender, which granted I'm still really struggling what to do with Emilia Perez in lead actress, but still, that's still a good set to have. Acting contender and makeup, boom, like that could at least result in a makeup win. Because no other film really here has that argument. None of these other films are transforming, are transforming actors that are in the big conversation for an acting Oscar. Emilia Perez is really the only one doing that. So I feel like that's why Emilia Perez would win. Furiosa, I think, also makes a good argument. This is where I do actually think we could see a nomination, because flat out, like, if you were talking about prosthetics, every character in that movie has prosthetics and some sort of makeup. Like, if we're talking about the most makeup, it's Furiosa. That easily has the most makeup of the year. And I know a lot of people are saying that, but Furiosa flopped. Again, what did I say before? We're talking about a sequel to a film that won 6 Oscars and was nominated for Best Picture. Like, it's going to be fine in some categories. Again, it's not going to get a lot of nominations, but to say that it's going to get goose-egged at the Oscars, or even just only get 1 nomination, I think it's a little bit crazy. Like, it's not going to drop out of every category imaginable. I think it maxes out at like 3 nominations, which is what I'm predicting here. But, like, it's going to be fine. Like, there are going to be eyes on it in the craft categories, especially with something like makeup. Like, I guarantee you more people saw Furiosa than Golda, and Golda still got in. And again, we're talking about Furiosa, the most makeup of the year. It'll be fine in makeup. Trust me, it'll be fine. Dune Part 2, easy nomination to throw at it. There's a lot, like what they did with Austin Butler. There's a lot of characters with makeup on. Yeah. A Different Man, that could also get nominated. I think, honestly, I'm very confident in A Different Man as well. Because what they're doing with Sebastian Stan, and also the fact that the movie, like it's not really offensive makeup, because everything seems to be kind of cleared and stuff. I feel like that's gonna, even though I guess with the makeup branch, they don't really care if like there's backlash against the makeup, but still. A Different Man, I think, will get in. It will get, I think it'll get in. And then we have like 5 and 6, but right now I'm kind of leaning on Sasquatch Sunset, purely because of how they transformed all these actors into Sasquatches, like full body makeup. I think, again, it's a lot of makeup, so it's gonna get in, I feel. Whereas and I know it's weird considering a lot of people will probably have Beetlejuice at number 1, but again, the rest of these I feel like just have too strong of an argument. Whereas with Beetlejuice, unless there's more in the film, because granted, I have not seen the film. I've only been going off of the trailers. Like, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of makeup that can contend with a lot of these films. Because you have the big acting transformation here, and I guess you could also say here, and like a shit ton of character work in this, with a lot of characters. And granted, like, in arguably more ways than what Beetlejuice has. So, I'm still gonna go off on a limb and say I think maybe Beetlejuice gets shut out. But again, it's not out of the conversation, but I just feel like these 5 have a better argument than Beetlejuice. Joker, Folie à Deux, yes, the first film got nominated, but also, like, we're dealing with way more films with prosthetics, so I'm not really gonna, I don't know if I can quite say Joker is gonna make it in. Your Monster is a film that no one's talking about, but I saw like a poster. I think I saw like a poster of it somewhere. And it's like, I don't know exactly what the film's about, but it looks like a dude, kind of looks like a Neanderthal or something. And it's like, it's pretty convincing, so I'm probably gonna, I'll probably put that in the short list. A Complete Unknown, you know, it has a little bit of Bob Dylan stuff, but I don't think it gets nominated because no prosthetics. And I know some people are saying, why aren't you putting this Substance? Again, well, like, I need to be proven if, like, the precursors will go for it. Because let's remember, a horror movie has not been nominated for Best Makeup since The Wolfman in 2010. Like, that's something we need to realize. So I'm not exactly there yet with the Substance, even though from everything I've heard, it is a lot of makeup. And some people have said if it gets nominated, it could win. We just have to see. Again, it's just that horror bias that is keeping me from predicting it. And not only that, but it's also body horror, and the only movie with body horror that actually got nominated for Best Makeup was The Fly. Like, that is something I really want to preface this. Like, I want to be careful because I don't know if the Substance is gonna get in. I don't know about, like, again, I want to see if precursors will go for it. And if it does get nominated, let's say, like, even at Critics' Choice, then, all right, like, and if it wins, I think it's really just a matter of, if it gets nominated, it definitely could win. But at the same time, you also have Emilia Perez, which has the acting support behind it. Again, it's really tough. Longlegs, the makeup actually does look really good in Longlegs. But that's also a horror movie, and I don't know if I want to put in that many horror movies in makeup and hairstyling. But, again, that's not impossible. Nosferatu, again, that's a maybe, but I'm not totally convinced yet. We'll have to see. The Apprentice, honestly, there's a lot of competition in makeup and hairstyling, I just realized. From what I've heard, The Apprentice actually does have, like, it does show what Donald Trump looks like older. But, again, we'll have to see how everything goes with that. A Hitman, I mean, I think it's not, I think this might get nominated at stuff like Critics' Choice, but I don't know if it gets in. But then again, the whole thing about Glenn Powell's character going in disguise and, like, that could maybe attract the branch, but I don't know how many prosthetics are in the film. Saturday Night, now, it doesn't look like it has a lot of prosthetics, although it does have, like, a lot of period hairstyling and stuff, but again, I don't want to go off of a film just because it has a bunch of hairstyling. Megalopolis, probably not. Wicked, some people are saying that because, whoa, they made Cynthia Erivo green, like that's makeup, but it's also like, yeah, they made her green, so what? The makeup branch clearly likes prosthetics more. Maria here, again, I think those are probably not going to get in, but again, we have to see how. I especially am curious to see how well Here does. Right on. All right. Now, let's just get to visual effects. And, oh boy, I'm going on a big limb right now. So let's talk about it. I think most people, everyone has this top three. Dune, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Gladiator 2. Yeah. I will say, I was wrong about Furiosa. I was wrong. After having seen Furiosa, I will say, I was wrong about the effects. Because, I was one of those people saying, the effects don't look as good as the first film, but I didn't take into account a few things. One, for one, the effects aren't even really that bad. Actually, they're very, very good. There's a couple of key differences between this and the first film. One is the overall filmmaking style of the film. Like, the first film was very locked off with its cinematography, whereas Furiosa, it's way more dynamic. There's more, like, spinning cameras going everywhere. The cinematography itself is a lot more crazy than the first film, which will probably throw off a lot of people, including me. Also, another thing, the overall aesthetic of Furiosa is different than that of Fury Road. Fury Road, very rusty, very old looking. A lot like all everything about the aesthetics of the film is like very run down and rusty. Furiosa is a lot more clean and like shiny, and I think that's more of the style of the film rather than the visual effects. Because if I'm just looking at the visual effects, they're still very good. They're still doing, and if I'm going to be, I think another thing that's different from the first film is that there's just a lot more visual effects. So I think if you were to have a problem with this movie, it's probably more so that the film just takes on a different style than Fury Road. And it's just a lot more crazier, a lot more bombastic. Again, the aesthetics are a lot cleaner and shinier than the first. Or I guess, well, maybe not first, but you know what I mean, but then Fury Road. So I feel like that's kind of my mistake. And if I'm going to be honest, the effects in Furiosa actually are very good, and I think it actually does get nominated. And here comes my big swing. Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. Now, people have told me, what are you thinking? The first film didn't even get nominated. To that I say yes. And I will say, I was very unimpressed with the visual effects of Rebel Moon Part 1. Like, some of the stuff looked pretty cool, like the horse creatures and stuff. But overall, I was just not really all that impressed. Especially the third act. The third act, its visual effects were very, very, very messy. That being said, today, I did watch Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. And on a visual effects level, it is a massive improvement. It is an extremely big improvement visually. The third act of this movie is literally like All Quiet on the Western Front meets Star Wars. Now again, I'm not saying, like, the movie is, it's not all that great. But if we're talking about, again, visual effects wise, that is the comparison I can make. And you just need to see this movie to get my point. Because the effects in Rebel Moon 2 are way, way better than the first. And there's a lot going on, and it's very, very impressive work. So much so to where now I am thinking it gets that 5th slot in visual effects. And again, people are saying, the first film didn't get nominated for the visual effects Oscar. Again, yeah, because it didn't deserve it. Like, I feel like if we're gonna make any kind of comparison in terms of visual effects, again, visual effects alone, it's sort of like how you went from Black Panther to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, where, alright, in Wakanda Forever, the effects are a lot more impressive. They're nowhere near as bad as the first film. That's sort of like how I get with Rebel Moon Part 2. Rebel Moon Part 2, this is a film where, because, again, Rebel Moon Part 1 did not have very good effects. Or at best, the effects in the film would at best be okay at points, but then a lot of other points in the film they would not be any good. Rebel Moon Part 2 is way, way stronger in this aspect. All you need to do is see it. All you need to do is just see this film and watch the third act, and you will see what I mean. There is so much visual effects war shit going around. It's kind of insane, and it's very impressive. So, again, just take it from me, someone who was just not impressed with the effects in the first film. I am telling you, the effects in Rebel Moon 2 actually do step it up a lot. So, like, it's got a better argument than a lot of these other films. Like, Deadpool and Wolverine, sure, maybe, but it's also like, you know, it's significantly less visual effects heavy than I thought it would be. I mean, there's still a lot of visual effects, but it's not like to the level of like Spider-Man No Way Home or something like that. Better Man, maybe, but again, I kind of need to see a trailer before I really go off on a limb on this, because that's a movie where I think it's like about Robbie Williams, but he's being played by a CGI ape, and there's like war scenes. I really need to see what this movie looks like. I need to see a trailer because it sounds insane. Here, once again, I need to lay out to people that when people are saying, oh, the AI might hurt this movie, it's like, generally speaking, the AI that they're using in here is basically the same as you see in a lot of de-aging effects. The only difference is that they're saying it's in real time, but even then, I'm not really convinced that what we see in the trailer is like, oh yeah, they pushed a few buttons and then boom, the AI spit that out. I really do not think it did that. I think what happened was that they got like a very good template to work off of with the AI. But then the visual effects artists later on tweak a lot of the stuff in post production to make it look better. Because I really do not think AI is at a point where it can just spit out what we see in the trailer and just call it a day. I really do not think that's happening. And again, in terms of AI, it's not that much crazier than what we see in de-aging in a lot of other movies. Again, it could still be a technological breakthrough, but I think people might be exaggerating when they say that it is straight up, what you see in the trailer is what the AI spit out. It's like, no, I think the AI gave them a template to work off of, but there's still got to be a lot of post-production work. You don't get, I really do not think AI is at a level where there's no need for post-production work. You still need a human touch, I believe, to creating CGI people. So yeah, Mufasa the Lion King, I'm still not convinced. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, but the animals look a lot more expressive. It's like, yeah, that's the problem. And a lot of people are saying, well, that's it might be a plus for general audiences, because their criticism was that the animals didn't express a lot. Yes, general audiences complained about this, not the visual effects branch. The visual effects, because The Lion King was the first completely photoreal animated movie, that is what made them that's what got it 3 wins at the Visual Effects Society Awards, including the top prize, Outstanding Visual Effects in a Photoreal Feature. Because of the realism, that's why visual effects artists gravitated towards it, because nothing had ever been done like that before. But I really feel like in an attempt to appeal to the general audience by having the animals express more, and I know some people are saying, oh, but it's just a tiny change. No, it's not. It's a big change. It's one of those things where it's it seems like a tiny change, but because we're dealing with faces, the tiniest change can make a big impact on the final result. And because the animals are expressing a lot more, sure, that might appeal to the general audience more, but it takes away from the photorealism, and I think that's going to hurt it at the end of the day. And if anyone needs, any proof on that, well, let's take a look at movies like Mowgli, why Welcome to the Jungle? Welcome to the Jungle! Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle. All right, that movie had a very similar approach where it had CGI animals that had more expressive human-like faces. And that didn't even make the top 20 on the visual effects shortlist. And by all accounts, it probably, you could probably see it happening. You could see it getting in the shortlist. Especially since The Jungle Book had just came out a couple years beforehand. But, again, because you took away from the photorealism of it all, considering it's supposed to be in a photoreal world, the visual effects branch said, no, we're not touching this. No. That's kind of, and I feel obviously, I think the December release is going to keep Mufasa in the shortlist, and maybe it gets nominated for the top prize at VES, but again, that depends on a few things. One is if Gladiator 2 is going to be put into Outstanding Visual Effects in a Photoreal Feature or Outstanding Supporting Visual Effects in a Photoreal Feature. And we also need to be aware of if Deadpool and Wolverine can get in there, or maybe the top prize at Visual Effects Society is just the top 5, but they haven't really gone top 5 since 2017 with where they had Blade Runner, Guardians, Kong, Star Wars, Planet of the Apes. And again, it also depends on what the supporting visual effects nominee is. Is Gladiator going to be in supporting visual effects, or is it going to be in the top visual effects, category? I don't know. But I think because Mufasa is taking away from the photorealism, because again, yes, general audiences did have a problem with the photorealism of the Lion King remake. But we have to remember, this is not the general academy voting for this category. It is the visual effects branch. And they are probably going to look at this and say, this is a few steps backwards from what was being done. And people will say, well, they've nominated Disney stuff all the time. They also don't. They didn't nominate The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid didn't get nominated. And you could also make an argument that that film had some expressive characters, like with Sebastian. And yes, what else did they not nominate? Well, they also didn't nominate Alice Through Looking Glass. They didn't touch that. They didn't touch Pete's Dragon. Pete's Dragon, another example of a movie that had a very expressive character. But because of the expressive nature of it, they didn't, like, because it wasn't as photoreal, they didn't nominate it. And, you know, another one, look at Dumbo. Very expressive character, but it wasn't as photoreal, so they didn't nominate it. So I feel like that's where Mufasa is going to ultimately end up being. Like, it's probably going to perform a little bit better because, again, it's going to make the shortlist because it's in December. But I just do not think it's going to get nominated. I think the faces are going to be considered a little bit like, yeah, it's going to appeal to the general audience, but the general audience isn't the one voting for the visual effects category. It is the visual effects branch. And they have clearly established that they do not care if audiences like a movie. They will nominate movies like Napoleon. They will nominate movies like, hell, the first Lion King, The Lone Ranger, Transformers Dark of the Moon. Like, they don't care how much everyone hates a movie. They'll still nominate it. And when it comes to movies that people do love, that people think are going to get in for visual effects, the visual effects branch has also said, no, we're not going to nominate that because we don't feel it's a deserving achievement. You know, like Oppenheimer, like Poor Things, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, like The Green Knight, like Dunkirk, like The Shape of Water. Just a bunch of these movies that are very well acclaimed, but because, you know, the visual effects branch, like, but again, that's one of those examples of, just because the general audience is going to be happy with something doesn't mean it's going to impress the visual effects branch. So, again, and you're probably wondering, why the fuck do you have Kraven the Hunter at number 10? Why would you do this, Christian? Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't do this. But, however, I gotta have some sort of crazy December release in here. I gotta have some crazy December release. Because being released in December generally helps you get into the shortlist. You know, look at last year. Last year, like 4 out of the 10 films were December releases. Especially films that didn't get any nominations at the Visual Effects Society, like The First Rebel Moon, like, what was it? Poor Things, like, yeah. Yeah, those are the two main examples. And then you also had other films that didn't get any Visual Effects Society nominations, but December release, they still got onto the shortlist because you had The Shape of Water, you had Cats, you had another famous one, Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb. Like, everyone was convinced, Edge of Tomorrow is going to get in, and Edge of Tomorrow even got a couple of nominations at the Visual Effects Society, but Night at the Museum was releasing in December and kind of bumped that spot out from Edge of Tomorrow. Despite the fact that at the end of the day, Night at the Museum I don't think got a single nomination at the Visual Effects Society. Yep, I'm looking at it, and Edge of Tomorrow got 3 nominations at the Visual Effects Society. That's actually pretty strong. Meanwhile, you know, Night at the Museum Secret of the Tomb didn't get any nominations. It got nothing. So, that's why I'm kind of thinking I think that's kind of why I'm thinking, like, Kraven the Hunter could get in. Because again, it's a December release, and it's a big, superhero movie, so it just might get in that way. And there is also Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that I want to look at, because even though no Sonic movie has ever even made the shortlist, to my knowledge, I still don't think, I don't know. Actually, no. Like, I'm going to keep my eye open on it. I'm going to keep an eye open purely because of the December release. But between Craven and Sonic, Craven sounds a little bit more realistic to me on the short list. Again, because of that December release. But we'll have to see. Wicked, on paper, Wicked really should be getting in the short list because it makes sense. It's a big Oz, musical. It has like a bunch of visual effects in it. But I'm wondering if it's Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. And honestly, I don't really know what to take out in favor of Wicked. And again, on paper, Craven shouldn't be above Wicked, but it's just that December release that that keeps like, So I want to keep an eye out on that. I really want to keep an eye out on that. Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire. I mean, sure, every MonsterVerse movie except for King of the Monsters got shortlisted. But man, I don't know. Like, are they gonna do Godzilla and Kong again? Are they really gonna do it again? I really don't know about that. If it does, I'm not gonna doubt another MonsterVerse movie again as long as it has Kong. I don't know. Beetlejuice. A lot of people are saying this is gonna happen, but again, I don't know. The effects look too old school for me to predict. I don't think it's happening. Like, and people are going to go, well, that could be a plus. It's like, no, historically, that's never been a plus for a visual effects film. Like, Christopher Nolan tried to go old school with Oppenheimer, and they didn't even put that in the top 20. Like, absolutely not. Like, just because, like, practical effects, like, the reason why practical effects don't really get into visual effects as much as, like, other films, use like a bunch of CGI. It's not because there's a difference. I don't even think it's really because of a difference between visual effects and special effects. I don't even think it's that. I think really in the grand scheme of things, it's that with practical effects, everything that really could have been done with practical effects has kind of already been done. So there's not really a lot of new ground to break. Whereas with CGI, it's always about, trying to make things look more real, new developments with like effect simulations, or making, characters look even more real, rendering, animation, all that stuff. Like, there's always new ground to break with CGI. Whereas with practical effects, it's more so, like everything that has been done with it has already been done. And I feel like it's just going to seem too old school. Like, the visual effects branch doesn't really like going backwards with its visual effects when they can. So, yeah. Alien Romulus, I know a lot of people are trying to do this, but I don't know. Like, sure, even Alien Covenant got shortlisted, but at the same time, Alien Romulus, but the thing with the Prometheus movies is that they were still very large-scale films with, like, big visual effects sequences. Alien Romulus isn't really like that. It's just kind of going back to basics with the Alien franchise. Which, again, it's going to be very appealing to general audiences, but in terms of visual effects, it's like, well, we've kind of already done this before. It's because with the visual effects, it's more so like, how much bigger can you get? It's either how much bigger can you get or how much real can you get with CGI. So it's really it's really those two factors you want to put in. And I don't know if Alien Romulus can, in terms of size, well, it's certainly not as big as the Alien franchise has gone. And in terms of realism, it's like, how much more real can you make it look? Because it's kind of, again, that's kind of already been done. So I don't think that's happening. Blitz, I've seen the trailer. That is easily a film that's going to get nominated at Critics' Choice and even BAFTA for visual effects. But I don't think it's happening. I just don't. This is going to be one of those movies that, everyone's going to say, man, this should get nominated because it's, a somewhat Best Picture contender, and automatically people want their favorite movies to be nominated for visual effects, and they're going to be upset when this doesn't make the shortlist. Because, the visual effects don't look that impressive or that, innovative. It's just all right, there's, a plane crash. We've already and even then, the camera is very locked off, so it's a much more simpler, not as dynamic shot to pull off. So it's no. And people are going to say Twisters. This is definitely the one people are going to say, what? Why didn't this get nominated? It's and people are going, I've seen some of the logic when people are trying to put in when predicting Twisters, because they're going, well, the first Twisters got nominated, but it's you can't really use that argument for visual effects, because especially if we're talking about a sequel to a film that came out in 1996. Because keep in mind, 1996, like, tornado effects, no one thought that was possible. It's like, wait, they're making a tornado with CGI? You can do that now? But ever since then, there have been tons and tons of movies that have used CGI to make, like, big tornadoes and destruction sequences. And especially in terms of disaster movies, you know, they've been not even getting into the short lists. Like, you know, like, they've slowly but surely not gotten nominated. Like, for example, look at the Day After Tomorrow. That didn't get nominated, even though everyone thought that it would. Look at 2012. That got on the shortlist. People thought it might have been nominated. Ultimately, it wasn't. And then slowly but surely, they started disappearing from the shortlists entirely. Like, San Andreas did not even make the top 20. Like, that was the big... Like, that didn't get in the shortlist? And then, you know... I'm trying to think of, like, any of the other ones. But also, Into the Storm. That didn't make the shortlist. And so we're talking about, like, literally the only reason why people are going with Twisters was because it was big, popular, everyone loved it, and that's kind of like all you need to convince people that it should be nominated for visual effects because, hey, it's my favorite movie with visual effects, so I'll nominate it. But no, like, there have been so many movies with CG tornadoes since Twister. Like, Twisters is not going to get in. I would be shocked if it even got shortlisted. That is how confident I am that Twisters is just not happening. Cause it's just not that kind of movie. It's like, like how I describe, again, like, tornado movies, like, that's just like, they've just been a thing. Like, they've been a thing for decades now. It's not that impressive anymore. It would have to be doing a lot more than what it is doing. A Quiet Place Day One, I probably expected it in the top 20, but again, the first two did not even get into the final shortlist. So why would A Quiet Place Day One do that? No, absolutely not. And I'm only putting Megalopolis and Conclave in there because you got to have some big prestige films in the top 20. You know, like Killers of the Flower Moon, like The Boys in the Boat, you know, all that stuff. But ultimately, again, like, they could miss and I really would not care. Again, it really is just a matter of, you know, like, I'm just trying to figure out what would get in the shortlist and stuff. But again, I feel like, I honestly feel very good about my top 4. It's just that number 5 slot. And I honest to God think it, like, that 5th slot's going to go to Rebel Moon. I think that might actually happen. All right. Now let's get to best sound. All right. This is where I have Dune Part 2 winning another Oscar. I think it's probably only going to win 3 Oscars, if I'm going to be honest. So, yeah. We all know the sound in Dune Part 2. That's easy. Whatever. Yeah. Then we have Amelia Perez. And, not only is it a musical, all right, that's good enough. But the fact that I've also heard that it has, like, shootout sequences, like guns and shit, it's like, oh, like, we're talking about musical elements and guns? That's like a sound designer's wet dream. So, like, of course it's going to get in. And then Furiosa Mad Max Saga. This is, like, the only, like, yeah, this, I think Furiosa only gets nominated for 3 Oscars. I've already explained why I think it's not going to be as dead as some people think it's going to be. Again, it's not going to do anywhere near as well as the first film, but it'll be fine in some categories. Sound, I would genuinely be shocked if Furiosa missed out on sound, because the sound in Furiosa is so damn amazing. It is so good and so well done. So, yeah, like, I'm going with this. I am going with Furiosa here. Yeah. A Complete Unknown? Sure. Musical biopic? Apparently it's involving, like, you know, man, I misspelled A Complete Unknown. Well, damn it. I can't fix that, I guess. I don't know, maybe? There we go, I fixed it. Alright, yeah. So, Complete Unknown, apparently it involves, you know, I forgot, Bob Dylan dealing with, like, amp sounds. Alright, cool. Yeah, sure. And I've heard The Brutalist has some pretty good sound design. Yeah, I could probably see that getting in. Honestly, I feel pretty good about this top 5. I actually feel pretty good about I feel actually very good about this top 5, if I'm going to be honest. Blitz? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe. Gladiator 2. Maybe. You could see that. Maybe. Joker Folie à Deux. I would if this was like anywhere. If this was not again a big disappointment in terms of its Best Picture chances, which again, being in Best Picture doesn't always correlate to a nomination here. But however, you still want to be in that kind of conversation. You still want to do that, like or at the very least, you don't want to be a Best Picture disappointment. And I think there's no Best Picture disappointment bigger than Joker Folie à Deux right now. Conclave. I don't know. Like maybe I could definitely see BAFTA going for it, but A Quiet Place Day One. The fact that the first A Quiet Place like underperformed in the sound nominations, it got sound editing but not sound mixing, and then the second film missed altogether. So like no, it might make the shortlist. It might not even make the shortlist. I don't know, but I'm not expecting Quiet Place Day One to get nominated. No. Civil War. This is where we expand past the shortlist. Civil War, maybe it does have like war stuff. Nickel Boys. I've heard the sound work in that is very good. We'll have to see about that. The Wild Robot. I will probably consider this further if it's like stronger in Best Picture, because so far it's doing exceedingly well at the box office and people absolutely love it. So that's why I want to put my I need to keep my eyes on that. Like even if it's like Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, because that did make the sound shortlist. If it's like on the level of a Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, I might actually put it in the shortlist. I don't think it'll get nominated, but I'll still put it in the shortlist. I'm willing to do that. Twisters, Wicked, Fall Guy, I don't know. Megalopolis, Madam Web Sweep Baby, let's go. Because everyone universally loved the sound in Madam Web, especially the sound mixing. Because yeah, like with Tahar Rahim's character, I mean, my God, everyone unanimously agrees that the sound mixing in Madam Web is amazing. So yeah. Original score. This is a big change because the Oscars changed the rules to where the score shortlist is not 15 films, but now 20 films. But although on one hand, like, my God, that's a lot of films. But I think now they're starting to realize that there's a little bit, because they've gotten a lot of backlash for not shortlisting a lot of scores. Like, they got backlash for not shortlisting the Batman. They got backlash for not shortlisting stuff like Past Lives. I think the fact that they didn't shortlist Ninja Turtles made me so angry. Ugh. But regardless, we're going to have a lot more contenders. So this list is going to look pretty big, so let's get into it. This is my controversial prediction. I think maybe Emilia Perez might take score. It is a big musical. Like, the musical elements in the film are original, so that might coincide with the film. But again, The Brutalist could also be a big contender because I've heard the score and that's very good. Dune Part 2, man, that has such a great score, like some great new compositions, but I think ultimately it's not going to win this category. The Room Next Door, especially now that I think it's getting in Best Picture, oh yeah. Like this, like you have Alberto Iglesias, and now he's composing a Best Picture nominated film, which I'm thinking The Room Next Door will be. Yeah, I think that's happening. And Sing Sing, having seen Sing Sing now, it's like, yeah, I could see the score getting nominated. Especially, because again, one thing I've always said, like, or at least maybe not always said, but one thing I'm starting to say is you want to, with original score, you want to, what's the word I'm looking for? You want to prioritize Best Picture nominated films, because in recent years, they've just kind of gone with either Best Picture nominated films, or if they're not in Best Picture, they are like it's John Williams composing. Like, even American Fiction got in for like no reason. Like, there's no reason why American Fiction should have gotten in over Spider-Verse or The Zone of Interest, even though The Zone of Interest was nominated for Best Picture. But you know what I mean. And also, Everything Ever All at Once getting Best Original Score over Pinocchio. What was that? RRR and the Batman not even shortlisted? Come on, why? But again, if you're in Best Picture, you're inherently stronger. That is something we need to reconcile with. You're stronger in score if you were nominated for Best Picture. And I think Sing Sing might be that. Although you could also have Conclave, Honora, maybe, Seed of the Sacred Fig, Juror Number 2. Wait. Oh, yeah, I don't have a complete unknown in the top 10 because I don't know how much of a score that movie has. But we'll have to see. But I think it's another good barometer. Like, if you appear in score as a surprise, then you can, like, you're probably very strong, much stronger than we anticipate. Because, look at what happened with All Quiet on the Western Front and Everything Ever All at Once getting score. That showed those movies were stronger than we anticipated. American Fiction, when that showed up in score, it's like, oh my god, they love this movie. They love this movie. Oh my god. So, I want to keep that in mind. And I'm thinking they're going to, again, if I'm thinking they're going to throw a big party for Sing Sing, I want it to surprise in a couple of categories. So I think score, it's going to do score. What are some of the other contenders? The Wild Robot, I want to consider that more, but again, it's not in Best Picture, at least not yet. If it starts getting Best Picture nominations, not just Best Picture nominations, I also need to see it in screenplay, adapted screenplay, which is a lot more competitive. I can't, because I'm not gonna be fooled last year where they kept nominating Across the Spider-Verse for Best Picture, but rarely any adapted screenplay nominations. Like, that's the thing you want to look at, like, when it comes to trying to predict Best Picture nominees. At least if you're animated, you need to look and see if they are nominating it for screenplay. Because if it's one thing to like throw a movie in Best Picture, or like it's one thing for like critics groups to nominate a movie in Best Picture when it's like, I don't know, a top 10 or something, but it's when they accompany that with a screenplay nomination. That's when you know it's way stronger than it may seem. And so if The Wild Robot starts racking up Best Picture nominations and Best Adapted Screenplay nominations, then I will say, yeah, it's probably going to get in for a few other categories as well. I'm keeping my eye on it, though. We'll have to see how it goes. Saturday Night, if it was in Best Picture, I would absolutely be predicting this. But, again, it doesn't look like it's going to be happening. Piano Lesson. I think Alexandre Desplat is doing the piano lesson, but good God, they've snubbed him so many times in this past, like, in the 2020s. It's kind of insane. A Completely Unknown, I already said that. I don't know how much of a score that has, but we'll have to see. Joker Folie à Deux, again, not Best Picture nominated. Challengers, Queer, Gladiator 2, Here, Beetlejuice. I think that's maybe what makes the shortlist, but again, we'll look a little bit beyond that. Megalopolis, Nosferatu, Kinds of Kindness, Night Bitch. We'll have to see. But again, my thing, again, like I said, to complete the original score thing, if you were predicting original score, you gotta prioritize the Best Picture nominees. Unless it's John Williams. Unless John Williams somehow shows up, which, wouldn't it be funny if his documentary actually showed up for original score? Or no, if, like, because I know he's coming out with a documentary, but wouldn't it be funny if John Williams ended up scoring his own documentary? Because at that point, it's like, there he is. There you are, John Williams. So, yeah. And original song. And we got one more category after this. Because I know this is going on for a long time, but you guys like the long videos, so whatever. I think Emilia Perez is going to get 2 nominations for song. I need to see the movie because I don't know. Like, I don't know which ones are stronger, and even the For Your Consideration page for Emilia Perez doesn't really have any of the category placements yet, so we don't really know which songs they are prioritizing. So I'm going with Mi Camino and El Camino. So we'll have to see about that. Again, I don't really know what's going on. So, yeah. Or wait, or is this the same song? I don't know. I'm just going off of... I'm just kind of going off of what Award Experts has. Are these the same song? If it's the same song, then my God, I'm stupid. But regardless, whatever 2 songs are in Emilia, just 2 songs from Emilia Perez. I'm just gonna go with that. The Journey from the 6888. This is our Diane Warren song. This is the Diane Warren song, all right? And, you know, Diane Warren, she always has got to get in. Even if her song is clearly the worst song in the category, she will get in. Although the Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot was actually very good. I will give credit for that one. That was actually a very good song. Piece by Piece from the movie Piece by Piece. That's a Pharrell Williams song. It's his like sort of biography animated film. It's absolutely not going to get nominated for documentary or animated feature because one, it's a celebrity documentary, so the documentary branch is going to hate that. And it's a Lego movie, and the Oscars for some reason are like very allergic to anything Lego related. So I don't think that's happening. And then Like a Bird from Sing Sing. Again, having seen Sing Sing, I'm like, yeah, I could see this happening as well. This could get in for song. It definitely fits in the movie. You know, the funny thing is, like, I was talking with someone who had seen Sing Sing, and I asked them, hey, is there an original song in the movie? And they were telling me, well, yeah, I don't think, they were like, I don't think so. Like, they could probably add one before TIFF. Like, they could probably just, like, put one in there. And then, sure enough, a few weeks later, it was nuts. Hey, Sing Sing now has an original song called Like a Bird. And they were like, there you go. Like they did exactly the thing that I said that they were going to do. So yeah, they literally just made a song so that they could get another Oscar nomination. But it's not a bad song. It's still a very good song. So yeah. At number 6, if these are the same song and I just don't know Spanish and I'm just a fucking idiot, which is very possible because, you know, I'm American. I don't know, and also very, very white. I'm like, so I'm very, like, I don't know anything about Spanish other than like anything that was in like Dora the Explorer when I was a kid. So yeah, like, God, if these two are the same title, like I'm a big idiot. Whatever the case, if it's not El Camino or Mi Camino, or if they're just the same, whatever. Like, anything else from Emilia Perez, I'm gonna consider. Like, anything else. I'm just gonna have, like, a dartboard and just go, okay, maybe this song, maybe this song, maybe this song, maybe this song. Any one of them could get in. I don't know. I need to see the movie, and I need to see what Netflix is trying to push. So, yeah. Harper and Will Go West from Will and Harper. God, I want to see this movie. I really, really want to see this movie. But, you know, like, and maybe this could get nominated. Like, documentary, even if a movie's not in the running for Best Documentary Feature, it could still get nominated for, like, other categories, like Original Song, which is what happened with American Symphony for, what was it? It Never Went Away. So that could happen. Love Again from I Am, Celine Dion, maybe. Double Life from Despicable Me 4. Kiss the Sky from Wild Robot. I don't know. I Always Wanted a Brother. I don't know. That song sounds like complete ass when I was watching the trailer. They're like, I always wanted a brother. I always wanted a brother. It's like, I feel like Lin-Manuel Miranda was like given like a day to write all the songs and like he didn't have any time to flush them out because the songs sound like garbage. If I'm going to be completely honest. So, I don't know. Maybe that happens. We're back from Moana 2. I don't think Moana 2 is going to get any song nominations because Lin-Manuel Miranda is just, he's not doing the songs for this one. And apparently the songs are being done by, like TikTokers, like TikTok/Instagram songwriters. Not a very good argument. You know, look at, what was it? Wish. Like, Wish also had, like, some pop star who didn't have any experience in, like, musical theater. So the songs weren't good at all and didn't fit into the narrative. And I'm worried that's going to be the thing with Moana 2. I'm worried that the TikTok, Instagram songwriters are going to kill this movie. And again, I even though it's ironic that I'm comparing them to Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I already said that Lin-Manuel Miranda is not going to get anything in for Mufasa. But again, like with Mufasa, like at least with like Encanto, Lin-Manuel Miranda's involvement was announced like a year before the movie's release. And they were like, oh yeah, he's already in development on the songs now. It's all great. Whereas with Mufasa, they literally announced that Lin-Manuel Miranda was involved like like when they released the trailer, the first teaser for Mufasa. That's not a good sign. It's sort of like when they announced that Hans Zimmer was going to be doing the score for Dark Phoenix, or that the Christopher, the Christopher Nolan editor. I'm sorry, I forget his name. The guy who edits a lot of Christopher Nolan movies. They also announced, hey, he's going to be editing Dark Phoenix, and it was only like a few weeks or so, or months before the movie came out, and it's like, uh-oh, it sounds like they just got like the best people at the very last second, and they don't want egg on their face, and they just want to attract people, like, hey, look at this, we got these people involved, even though it just feels like they just got them last second. And I feel like that's going to be what's happening with Lin-Manuel Miranda for Mufasa. God, that I Always Wanted a Brother song sounds so bad. It sounds so bad. Harley and Joker Waltz is this an original song in the movie, or is it just confirmed that there are just no original songs in the film whatsoever? I don't know. I probably don't know. I honestly don't know anything about this category this early, so I don't know. And then there's compress, repress from challengers. I don't know. I just saw that in the app and I just put that in there. And then there's stop talking from Dee Dee. Well, speaking of stop talking, I'm also going to stop talking about this category because we're moving on. Animated feature. All right. This is interesting because at the beginning of the year I said, oh yeah, Wild Robot, that is winning animated feature. And then Inside Out 2 came out and it said, are you sure about that? Because it became the highest grossing animated film of all time, even beating the Lion King remake. Everyone seems to love it. But then TIFF happened, and The Wild Robot got probably the best reviews DreamWorks has ever received, and it is overperforming box office expectations. So, yeah, that's kind of, amazing. And I think it's back in frontrunner status. And again, I want to see if this can actually get in for because granted, it did not place at TIFF, but we also got to keep in mind that with TIFF, the Life of Chuck won, and that was pushed to 2025, or at least maybe not pushed, but it's going to release in 2025. So was The Wild Robot number 4 for People's Choice then? Because I think that does change a lot of things. So I need to figure that out. It is very that is the question we need to ask ourselves. Because again, if this movie starts popping up in more categories, not more categories, but if this starts popping up in more critic circles and it starts getting picture and screenplay nominations, then yeah, it could absolutely it could probably get into Best Picture, because with Chuck gone, anything is possible now. God, I'm really fascinated by this, because even on Rotten Tomatoes, it has the same percentage, it has a 98%, and that's still the same that Up and Toy Story 3 got. That's really, really impressive. So, if this really does, I think, especially if this becomes, a box office sensation, it's not going to make $1 billion. It's not going to do that. But I want to keep my eye on this, because, again, the reviews for this movie are even better than that of Pinocchio, and Pinocchio got in, even though it only got one nomination at the Oscars, it got shortlisted for a lot of Oscars. Not only, it was shortlisted for song, score, even sound. I'm really wondering how big it's going to be, because I want to keep my eye on that. Inside Out 2, I don't know. I think maybe The Wild Robot has probably taken the wind out of its sails. Although, again, it's not like Inside Out 2 was considered very disappointing. People still really love this movie, and it is a huge box office juggernaut. But then again, maybe box office juggernauts don't always win. Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse didn't win. Incredibles 2 didn't win. Frozen 2 did not even get nominated. So, yeah, we'll have to see about that. Memoir of a Snail. Apparently, okay. I put this back in the predictions, or did I have this in the predictions before? I'm not exactly sure. But there was a point in time where I took it out of my predictions because, like, though they already nominated, like, because I know this came from the same director as Mary and Max. And I was like, well, I mean, I think maybe people might be just predicting it because Mary and Max got nominated. And usually these kinds of, like, independent animated films from directors like this are not really, they don't really get another nomination. That wasn't until I found out that Mary Max actually did not get nominated for Best Animated Feature. I was like, wait, it didn't? And apparently I found out that it was like more of like a thing where it's like it didn't qualify for release. So it's like, oh, okay, so maybe it will get in. And people seem to really like this movie. Then there is also Flow. Flow has gotten a very good response and apparently has, like, it looks gorgeous. So there is that. And then there's that fifth slot, which could be a number of things. Right now, I'm going to go with Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Because, Wallace and Gromit is very agreeable in terms of Academy taste. I mean, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit won Best Animated Feature. I think some of the shorts won Best Animated Feature. So, no, not Animated Feature, but some of the shorts won Animated Short. So, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul might actually do that. Like, it might get nominated. Well, it's not going to win, but, but at the same time, also, Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget didn't get in, but, that's also a case of, well, it just generally wasn't really appealing to a lot of people. We need to see how the response is for Wallace and Gromit. Like, if the response is very strong, then, alright, I think it could probably get in. Moana 2, I was about to say, yeah, it probably could get in, because the trailer didn't look bad, but again, I don't know. It's something about the whole thing about what was it? The TikTok stars. The fact that it was like TikTok stars writing the music, like writing the songs for this. I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. I don't know. I think that kind of made me panic a bit. But we'll have to see how everything goes. Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. This looks really good. But again, like I have heard some good arguments where it's like it's probably more of like a specialty animated film where it's like even if it's deserving, it's more of like a specialty kind of animated film where it's like only catering to like a specific demographic of people, and it probably doesn't really go anywhere. And that might be true. I don't know. And then there's some of the other ones like The Imaginary, The Most Precious of Cargoes, Chicken for Linda. I really want to I want to say that the independent animated features, we gotta look out for those, but there's already a couple of those in the list, so I don't know. Man, The Day the Earth Blew Up, I don't think that's happening, even though it does have a great narrative behind it. I don't know. Let me look up the reviews. Oh, this movie has just not even released yet. That's weird. Huh. So, although apparently, like, some of the reviews are very strong. Like, I'm looking at, like, apparently IGN loved the shit out of it. But again, there's not a lot of reviews out for it yet. So I guess we'll have to see how this goes in terms of response, but I don't know. It does have a good narrative behind it, especially with the whole release, Coyote versus Acme, but I don't know. Like, this one, I think this one, if this movie has very, very strong reviews, then oh yeah, up it goes definitely. Orion in the Dark, I was maybe thinking this could happen, but people just don't care about this movie, and even the response to it wasn't amazing, so probably not. Despicable Me 4, yeah, it's gonna get like Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and PGA is gonna nominate it because they for some reason can't resist the Illumination movies, even when they're very, 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 very mid. But I don't think Despicable, like the Oscars don't like Illumination movies. Literally the only one that got nominated was Despicable Me 2, and that was in probably the worst competitive year for animated movies ever. So it's like, I think in a stronger year, Despicable Me 2 would have never gotten in. Kung Fu Panda 4, people don't care about that movie. People were very underwhelmed by it. Transformers 1, if they didn't even go for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, why would they go for Transformers? Like, it's like the Oscars see Lego, and, Ninja Turtles, and we're just like, ew, we don't want to nominate that, ew. Like, we'll nominate, like, the most mid-Pixar movie imaginable, like Elemental, in favor of Ninja Turtles. So, even if Transformers 1 is as good as everyone's saying it is, which it just might be, they're just not going to care about it because of the name alone. The name alone is just going to is going to give them hives. So, yeah. And then Piece by Piece, again, they hate Lego movies. They're never going to nominate a Lego movie for animated feature. Absolutely not. They didn't do it. If they didn't do it with the Lego movie or the Lego Batman movie, despite the fact that the Lego Batman movie came out in a very weak year for animated films, they're gonna hate Piece by Piece. They're gonna hate this movie. And so, yeah, guys, those are my below the line September Oscar predictions. This one was long, nearly an hour and a half. So let me know if you guys like that, and also let me know what I'm gonna pass the question off to you. What are your below the line Oscar predictions for 2024, at least in September? Let me know what you guys think, and consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you don't, Piece by Piece will get nominated for Best Animated Feature.